In what ways has addiction affected families based on your decades of experience?
Right. 31 years of criminal defense and some form of substance abuse insinuates itself into our criminal cases statistically 96% of the time. And it is either alcohol or drugs or both that oftentimes bring people into the criminal justice system. I don't think there's any such thing as someone who hasn't been touched in some way by substance abuse, disorders, things of that nature. In some way, we're all impacted. As an attorney in our practice, we were seeing such increasing numbers of younger and younger people and their parents coming through our doors. And so much of that had to do with some form of substance abuse. We are shepherding families through the substance abuse crises, collaborating with multidisciplinary teams in various categories to assist these families and their kids to not only navigate the courts, but also to get to the heart of the problem and move on in life.
Do you think a lot of families are not even aware that they have legal rights when it comes to whatever addiction issue is going on in their family?
Yes, I think that there are many families who don't understand that there are laws and there are legal methods to assist them through this problem. There are statutes and practices and procedures in every state in the country that empower parents to intervene and to find remedies for their kids. No doubt about that.
What are the biggest concerns that families, and more specifically parents, have when they first meet with you?
The primary worry always is, particularly with younger people, the first worry is jail. Right? And right behind that is there going to be a permanent record? Is there going to be some type of immovable handicap that is going to prevent my child from being successful in life?
How do you begin to assure parents that it doesn't have to end in jails, institutions, or death?
Every case, although there is a commonality, every individual, every case, and the human being behind the case is different. Younger people come to us with no prior record, okay? Or maybe the younger person has already been in the system, but still, they're not chronic. Okay, they're not a career offender. So we begin with kind of a statistical and database type of analysis of where they are on the spectrum, and reassure them, statistically speaking, with the right services and the right people, here's what can happen with your child. That there doesn't have to be a permanent, indelible mark here, as long as they do what's asked of them.
I would assume that part of the message that you give families is there is hope, there is help.
In our offices, we talk about hope. And of course, we talk about health and help. And not only do we talk about it, but the help is everywhere. It's just it's a matter of will. It's a matter of finding it. It's a matter of engaging with that help in, as I said, a multidisciplinary way.
Helping people not be so afraid of the legal process, and that you are their advocate.
Absolutely. Look, if you're an advocate, you've got to educate. If you really are an advocate, you've got to spend the time informing people, providing with the information that they need, right? Because information and knowledge is power. One of the things that makes families so afraid is that they lack information, and that makes people scared.
What complexities in addiction and recovery and law exist today that did not, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Privacy, HIPAA, oftentimes families are involved with adult children and trying to, corral everybody and have them all on the same page with authorizations, with an openness of communication. And of course, the complexity of simply interfacing with the right professionals in their various disciplines so that everyone is playing from the same music. It's much more complex now because authentic problem solving doesn't happen exclusively in court. It can't, right? The problem isn't solved there. It's a Band-Aid. Yes, we can defend someone. We can reach the right resolution, legally speaking, right? In terms of the practice of law, but that's not the problem. The problem that brought them to court is something much more profound and requires a team to fashion a solution. It is a collaborative effort, no doubt about that.
I want to ask you about drug courts. I have spoken at drug courts in the past. I've shared my story of addiction with judges and with people who have participated in the drug court program. What do you think of that program?
So the drug court programs differ across the nation, from state to state, from county to county. And I'd like to see some uniformity, certainly, across state lines. But I think that drug courts that are specifically designed to divert prosecution, suspend prosecution, provide for a period of treatment and some other conditions, whatever they may be, community service, other types of requirements that that doesn't rubber stamp, that doesn't necessarily coddle people. I think that drug court programs that are demanding, that are educational, that really involve talented people teaching people, the addicted, about their journey. I think those are terrific programs, but it does require, talk about complexity. It's a complex formula, putting it all together in the right way.
Mm-hmm. I've also spoken at prisons, and a lot of young men in their early 20s are in there because of alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
And my message to them is, you can turn your life around. Do you really want to stay here for years? They all say, no, I want to get out. I want to make a fresh start.
Nobody in jail wants to stay there. And of course, many of them will say whatever they have to say in order to get out. But I certainly the deeper question is, do you want to be dependent? Do you want to be enslaved by your substance abuse for the rest of your life? And what do you do in order to get well, in order to acquire the education and the training and the tools to get well? We have all the statistics and all the data we need about how and when to intervene, but we've got structures and economic complexes in place where funds go in other directions.
You speak frequently at recovery events.
Yeah.
Why is this so important to you?
Early on in my career, I tried a lot of many criminal cases. We were seeing more and more young people come to our practice. And honestly, it became professionally and personally upsetting and disturbing to see the recidivism, right? To see these young people and their families coming back. We wanted to help people, and I wanted to get involved in prevention to help people not need a lawyer, to not come into the court system, to actually create some hope and some methods to avoid the pitfalls in advance of coming to us.
What are the best recommendations you have for families who may be watching this right now? We're just beginning this journey.
I would love to see families practicing a degree of vigilance, parents, so that they begin to see just the very beginning, the inkling of signs before the more profound signs appear. In other words, parenting requires a lot of energy. It requires tremendous vigilance. And you've got to pay attention. You got to be able to have that conversation and make sure that your kids feel comfortable telling you what's going on. There's no judgment. There's no criticism. You got to make sure that they can come to you.
What are some of the main takeaways about the need for conversation about this topic?
The stigma has to stop. The shame has to stop. This model, it may come from anywhere, of secrecy about substance abuse, which is a disease, right? The chemical and neurological transformation that can happen to someone who is suffering from addiction. We have to be able to be open about this topic and take shame out of the conversation.
And what touches you the most in your work?
That's easy. What's most profoundly moving for us is when we can impact that kid, when there's a shift. You see the shift happen. It may happen within a week or 2 weeks. It may happen 6 months later. But when we make that impact, and we see a change in behavior and a change in thinking, it's very, very moving.
I can speak from experience, having been in long-term recovery myself, that you can change.
The power of the human spirit and the human mind to recommand itself and change is miraculous.
And the power of recovery.
Power of recovery and the power of family. The power of family, when family really unites and they focus their energy and they focus all of their talents and they pull it together, the power of family is absolutely stunning sometimes.